Hey you guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Lala and you're watching Lala Level Up. And today I'm posting my first story time. But before I get into that, I want you to stop right now and like the video. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. When you like and comment, that really helps the channel and helps more people find my channel. So please make sure you do that before I even get into the video. Oh wait. Okay, so this story time is very juicy and very dusty. The time I fell for a dusty. Now, first things first. This video is not to talk down on this particular dusty. This is just to share my experience and my story. Also, I really want to define what is a dusty. So, a dusty, right now I'm talking about men. You can be a dusty friend, a dusty anything, but what really defines a dusty, for me at least? So a dusty can be somebody who visually represents that. They just look dusty and bummy and crummy. And mostly it's a mindset. A dusty person lacks goals. They lack ambition. They lack respect for other people. They just act very bottom of the barrel. Dusty people are the worst kind of people to interact with. They just have no value for themselves or other people, and they're just shitty people. You never want to interact with a dusty anything. Dusty friend, dusty man, dusty job, it's just low grade, pretty much. And you know what? Looking back, I can see that this person was always pretty dusty, but I tried to ignore the signs because I like them and I care about them at the time. But hindsight is 2020. So without further ado, let's get into this story time. The time I fell for a dusty. I met this dusty, we're gonna call him Dusty Dan. I met Dusty Dan in high school. Before I even knew him, he was actually cool with my sister. So I remember seeing him come to my house with a few people on a couple different occasions. But I never really paid him any minds. I mean, I thought he was cute, but it was nothing. So I guess over time, since we went to the same school and we both knew the same people, we just got cool. We just developed a friendship. And that was my senior year of high school. But I had a lot going on my senior year of high school. Over time, I began to feel like there was some chemistry between us, like a connection. I just felt it, and I know he felt it too. But we never acted on it at that time. He didn't pursue me, and I definitely didn't pursue him. So it didn't go anywhere. And that was also my senior year, and I had a lot going on my senior year, so I definitely wasn't focused on him. And that's going to be for another story time, my senior year, okay? But, so yeah, we always had this sort of chemistry, but when I was in high school, I never paid it any mind. So time went by, we graduated high school, and I ended up finding out that he actually joined the military and had moved to another state. And this was probably a year and a half after graduation. And I was like, damn, that's crazy. He left and never got to say bye. And we ended up reconnecting on social media and started up a friendship again. So basically, from that moment, we ended up talking a lot. And when I say a lot, I mean every day, me and this boy would be on the phone for hours and hours and hours and just really get to know each other on a deeper level. We would talk about our past, our childhood, our past dating partners, things of that nature. We just got really close and we were very vulnerable and open with one another. So it's crazy because before anything, he was my friend. Before he started displaying his dusty behavior, we were friends before anything, which is crazy. It's crazy how people would do you. But moving on. So me and him got really close. So we ended up falling out though because I ended up receiving a text from him which wasn't actually from him. Come to find out, it was like from his ex-girlfriend. I guess they were getting back together or something like that. And she ended up texting me from his phone, pretending to be him. And the reason why I knew it wasn't him is just in the way that she was texting. Like, I know the way he talks. I know what he adds in his text and what he doesn't. And for some reason, us women always try to put a space before we put a period or exclamation point or something. It's always that space. And I'm like, yeah, for me, that was the sign that told me, yeah, it's not this nigga. And plus, the text was very emotional. He doesn't really talk like that. So I knew it was her and not him. But anyway, the text basically said, so whatever I told you, just forget about that, because me and my ex are getting back together. We really love and care about each other. So I know what I said to you, but it wasn't true. Like, okay. So I took it for what it was. I'm like, okay, she really could have just said, hey, I'm his bitch. And like, you know, acted like herself instead of acting like him. But like, okay, whatever, who cares? So whatever, we stopped talking. I stopped talking to him. And then some time goes by, maybe like a year and a half goes by, 2 years. And at this point, I'm in a relationship with a woman. And he ends up reaching out to me on social media, trying to reconnect with me. So we start having communication again. And I tell him, like, hey, I don't mind reconnecting in a friendship, but it has to stay strictly platonic because I'm in a relationship and I'm not cheating. But I ended up cheating. That's in another story time. But yeah, so going into it, I'm like, yeah, I'm definitely in a relationship, so we can just be friends. He was down with it at first, but the more we started to talk, our feelings just started to come back into play for each other. Because back then, we would talk all the time, talk on the phone for hours, FaceTime. Like, we already knew each other from high school. But just talking so much and getting so close, like, even though it's long distance, like, you end up falling for the person because you're building a bond with them. You're building a connection. So, yeah, feelings just end up coming back. And long story short, I'm going to skip a part because I want to use that for another story time. Like, I want to really go into another story time. But long story short, he ended up falling for me again. He wanted to be in a relationship with me, and I couldn't give him that because I was in a relationship and I didn't want to leave the relationship. Actually, I'm not going to lie. I didn't really want to be in the relationship I was in anymore, but it was one of those situations where I didn't want to let it go either. I knew it wasn't good for me, but I didn't want to let it go either. So I'm like, okay, I'm definitely not about to break up with my girlfriend to be with you. And that really hurt him, which I understand because it was kind of like I led him on. And I didn't mean to, but like I kind of did because I was entertaining it. I was like entertaining it and then also saying, but I'm in a relationship though. And you can't really do that. So I definitely take accountability for like hurting his feelings or whatever by, I guess, leading him on. But in the same breath, that does not justify his behavior moving forward from that. So it kind of just seems like ever since like he basically said, I really have feelings for you and you're just gonna stay with that girl. After I guess I didn't choose him, I just noticed that there was like a shift. There was a shift. Like, I just can tell that there was a shift. There was more distance between us. And there was like, he was like a cold. Like, he was giving me the cold shoulder. So it was very tumultuous. Like, we basically dealt with each other on and off for like 6 years. Like, it was crazy. And we would see each other when he would come back home to visit. We would see each other, but there was times where like we like didn't have no communication and would stop talking to each other for like 2 years. Like, it was like a stretch of time. It was probably longer than that. I want to say like, yeah, it was like 7 years. It was like 7 years, like on and off. We just would just have this entanglement. Like, it dead ass was an entanglement. But at the time, like, I really felt like Dusty Dan was my soulmate. Like, I really felt like we were in love, we were soulmates, and we had this soul contract, and he was the one, and we were gonna get married, and I was gonna have his kids, and like we was gonna live this fantasy dream life, the American dream. And that was crazy of me, because that nigga really wasn't shit. And this video is not to down him at all, but I'm gonna keep it 100. He really was not shit. And it came to a point where he knew he wasn't shit, and he was just telling me himself, like, yes, I'm not shit. Like, I actually think at a point he was trying to be so shitty to me, so I would just not fuck with him anymore. Like I don't know, it was crazy. So dealing with Dusty Dan, like, over time, it just got really bad. Like, he was very verbally abusive. Like, he definitely called me out my names many times. He definitely threatened me before, like, and here's the thing, like, through this story time, you're going to see, like, I was dumb. I was very dumb. And it's not even that, you know what, I wasn't even dumb. I was just, like, really in love, and I just really, like, looked past all the bright red flags because I tried to make excuses for somebody that I cared for. But you never do that. You never do that. Like, when you see them red flags, you need to act accordingly. And this man showed me multiple times that he just was not, like, he ain't for me. Like, you was not for me. Like, you and me are not, you just ain't it, babe. You just ain't it, babe. You just ain't it, babe. And that's okay. That's to say, oh, well, he is dusty. He's dusty. I'm not gonna lie. The nigga's dusty. So he was just very verbally abusive. Like, he, throughout the time, he probably got 3 different girls pregnant during, like, our entanglement. And mind you, like, me and Dusty Dan weren't in a relationship. We weren't in a relationship. We had this crazy connection that was, like, I don't know. It's kind of just like I put him on a pedestal, and I felt like he put me on one too, but he really didn't. I just had a perception of him, especially from knowing him from my childhood. I had this certain perception of him that just was not true. It was a facade. It is an image that I thought he was, and he was just not that. Or maybe he was, and then he changed. Like, things change. People change. And I just I expected it to remain the same, and it wasn't. And I just felt like I had these crazy, amazing feelings for him, and him for me. Like, he'd express his emotions to me, but it's like your actions don't line up. So what the fuck does that mean? And I just felt like he never really gave it any effort. Like, he really wasn't shit. Like, he was the type of guy that, like, he would do things like talk down to me on, like, why do you look like that? Or why are you wearing that? Or where the fuck is you going? Like, I remember that. He would always talk to me very aggressively. Like, fuck is you going? Fuck is you doing? Fuck you got going on? And it's like, who is you talking to? Like, women don't like to be spoken to like that. Like, I'm a woman. I'm not your friend. I'm not one of your boys. Like, you need to speak to me softly. Like, talk to me respectfully. Like, talk to me nice, or don't talk to me at all. Like, I don't like all that aggressive shit. Like, that's rude and disrespectful. Like, who the fuck is you talking to? Like, he was just very bad. Like, looking back now, I'm just like, girl, like, oh my gosh, the level up is real, because Dusty Dan was totally bad. And, like, you know what? When he got other girls pregnant, I remember feeling like, well, he got a couple girls pregnant. They didn't fall through. The last girl fell through. Like, the pregnancy happened. He has a child now. And I remember I was so hurt about it at the time. And I'm, like, so happy that it's not me. I'm just so happy it's not me. But Dusty Dan just was very verbally abusive with me. He was very just, like, mean. You ever just someone who's like mean and cold-spirited, like that's just who he was. And I started to feel like he disliked me because I was the opposite of him. Like the last time I saw him, I just felt like he couldn't stand me because I was just so happy. You know, in life, there are gonna be people who don't like you just because of your own energy. Just because you have a bubbly personality, or just because you're comfortable and confident in being yourself. You know? And he very much tried to bring me down, but it was like oil and vinegar. Like I got to a place where it's like, nigga, can't shit you say affect me. And then I started thinking, like, why am I even, like, trying to deal with this person? But you know what it was? I felt like because we were never, like, in a relationship and we were long distance, it kind of just felt like that candy that you never got to taste. I felt like I never really got to fully attain him because we had distance between us. And it was a lot of space and it was a lot of time away. So I always felt, I think I just wanted to be with him, and I just wanted us to have something good so bad because it's like I never had it. It's like it never like fully manifested into what I wanted it to be. And sometimes I would go crazy. Not crazy, that's like dramatic. But sometimes I would really overthink about it and be like, bruh, like, does this nigga even care about me? Because the way he acts and like the things he does is just like, why in a way this person care about me? During one of our last few conversations, we did have a talk, and he definitely was like, he basically opened up and was just like, I just can't show my emotions. I basically have an emotional blockage. And I know it's just because he's hurt and traumatized. But that's not a fucking excuse. Like, honestly, if you have issues, you need to get therapy. And that's with everybody. I'm in therapy. Like, it ain't nothing to be ashamed about. Like, if you have things you're dealing with, you have to go to therapy. Like, I'm not gonna say you have to, but you really should. If you care about your mental health, your growth, like, it doesn't hurt to try. Dusty Dan was very dusty. Even when I would see him, like, it was just, looking back, I'm just so fucking grateful that everything worked out the way it did. So the last time I saw Dusty Dan, I hadn't have seen him in 3 years at this point. We didn't speak for a long time. And then we spoke again. Sometimes it would be very sporadic with me and him. We talked for a few months, then not talk for like a year. Every time we would deal with each other, it was just overly intense and a lot of emotions. And it was very like, highly intensified and very passionate. At that time, I didn't see him for like 3 years. We saw each other and he was just so mean, so cold-hearted. Like, he was just like, and it didn't hurt me. It just made me feel like, bro, like, I hope you heal. I hope you heal because, like, I don't know how, but it's like over time he started to just treat me like his enemy. Like, I dead ass don't know how. I don't know why. I don't know. I think at some point he just started to treat me really shitty because I think I'm pretty sure he has really, I'm going to say this. Dusty Dan was extremely insecure. Dusty Dan was very much a narcissist. Dusty Dan very much was the type of person who acted very confident, who was very grandiose. But internally, he was not that. Internally, he was just like a little boy who was just hurt and tried to portray this tough guy persona. And like, I just saw through the bullshit with him. I just saw through the bullshit, and I'm just like, that's not who you are. You're actually very insecure. Whenever you're dealing with somebody who's insecure, there's always going to be an imbalance. And he's always going to try to, like, prop himself up to be higher than he is. Dusty Dan did that a lot. He called me randomly, like, hey, I'm in town. Let's go get food. And I'm like, okay. So I proceed to get ready and stuff. And like, by the time I finish getting ready, I hit him up. And he's like, oh, I ate already. I'm like, nigga, why? If you just said we were gonna get food. He's like, oh, I was hungry. Okay. So I'm like, all right. So do you want to go to a bar or something? And just, I'm thinking like, okay, we're just gonna like catch up for a couple hours, and I'm gonna go about my business. You're gonna go about yours. And every time I would say things like that to him, he'd be like, all right, go about your business then. Like, he was very like emotional. He was very, very, he was that person who swore he had no emotions, but he reacted very emotionally immature, if that made sense. Like, he definitely was extremely emotional in all the wrong ways, if that makes sense. Or in uncalled for ways, like, you know? And, yeah, so we met up. I'm like, okay, well, let's go and get a drink then, you know? He's like, oh, I don't drink. I don't want to drink. I'm like, okay. Last he told me, this nigga would drink all the time, but okay. He's like, yeah, I don't want to drink. I'm like, okay. He's like, Alec, he just want to meet up with me. I'm like, okay, you want to go on a hike? Like, this nigga acting mad weird. And from that, I should have known, girl, just stay home. Because this nigga's acting weird. He's calling you because he's bored. Or he just want to be up in your face. But he ain't got shit to say. Shit to offer you. He's the same old Dusty Dan. And, like, why? Like, why? Oh, and you know what? Yo, I just want to hype and say this and then move on. So, for years and years and years, I thought this nigga was my soulmate. But, like, I always had doubt because... duh, the red flags were there. The signs were there. This nigga wasn't shit. And, like, something in my heart just was fighting it. Like, oh, is he my soulmate? Is he not? And then I ended up, y'all know I do mushrooms. So I ended up having a very intense shroom trip. And I set an intention about him, like, to find out, like, all right, what the fuck we got going on? So I had a shroom trip about him. And this trip showed me very strongly, you gotta let him go, you gotta let him go, you gotta let him go. That's all I heard in my head in the shroom trip. It was just showing me, let him go. You have to let him go. You have to, you have to, you have to, you have to. It was very strong. It was very certain. The shroom trips never lie. Not dead ass, it never lies. And it told me straight up, let that man go. So honestly, from the shroom trip, because I know the shrooms never lie, I knew from then, and this had to be like a month before all of this, I knew from then, for real, it ain't shit. You gotta let it go. But I was holding on a little bit by some strings for a specific reason that I'm not gonna get into. But I was just holding on for that for a specific reason. Even though I knew my mind is done, but I'm gonna still communicate with him a little bit for my reason. So I already knew, like, in my heart, like, I dead ass knew, like, it's done. Ain't nothing there, girl. Maybe I had something at some point, but it's done now. And, so I already really knew, like, I knew. And long story short, we ended up meeting. I keep saying long story short, but really it's long story short, long, because I clearly don't know how to make it short. But, like, me and Dusty Dan met up. We went on a hike, and it wasn't even a hike. We walked a few steps around a pond, and then he wanted to leave because he's corny, and he was just mean, and he was being very stank, and he had a nasty attitude. And when we were walking together, he was like, oh, why are you so close to me? I'm like, okay, nigga. And I backed up, and it's not even like I was really on top of him, but I was next to him. You know, when you're walking with somebody, you're gonna be like next to them, you know. And, like, he was just being very, girl, I'm not gonna lie, he was being very weird. Just, like, weird. Like, it's not like I saw him and I was trying to be all relationship-y, like, holding his hand, all up on him, trying to kiss him. Like, I was just being a normal friend, and he was just acting like, honestly, he was just acting like a disgusting person. There's no other way around it. And I was just like, okay, what the fuck wrong with you? And, I'm in a good mood, though. Like, think about me. Like, my default mode is happiness. Like, I'm good. I'm happy. I'm at a good state. Like, you know? So even though he has this stink-ass attitude, like, my energy is very much protected. So, like, I'm not really affected by it. I'm just like, ew, you stink. But I'm not heated about it, you know? And, like, I just noticed he's just being very insulting of me. Like, when I was standing up, I'm, like, standing to the side. And he's like, stand up straight. Why you stand like that? You need to have good posture. Like, he was, like, trying to bring me down. And he was just, like... Then he had the fucking audacity to say, oh, you're fried. I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, from the last time I saw you to now, you're fried. Dusty, this fucking Dusty nigga, bitch. This Dusty had the audacity to tell me I'm fried. When I saw this nigga, not only did I know he was Dusty mentally by the way he was acting, but this nigga he looked dusty. He had a crushed up sweater. He looking all crusty and crummy. I ended up pushing him. He was all skinny and scrawny. I felt his ribs. I'm like, nigga, you're not even man enough for me. You all scrawny. Like, I desire a manly man. Not no little ass boy with some bird chest. Not trying to body shame, but like, don't do that. Stay in your lane. So I'm like, I have to catch him out real quick. So I'm like, nigga, fuck is you talking about, nigga? You is washed up. Like, who the fuck is you talking to, bitch? Like, you're fucking washed up, bitch. You're fucking fried. Is you dumb, bitch? Like, he type of person, he did try to disrespect you until you come at him crazy. Because when I came at him like that, he had nothing to say. He had nothing to say. I call him a bitch and everything. He had nothing to say. Nothing to say. He just, like, really a coward who just put on the front. Because if, like, he tries to fuel his own ego. Like, honestly, he's a really sick and twisted individual. And I'm not trying to bash him, but I gotta keep it real. Like, very sick and twisted. And I'm so fucking happy and relieved that I no longer deal with this person. So anyway, while we're on this hike, he's being very stink, very rude. And we end up turning around and walking back. And then, basically, he ends up starting to taunt me. And taunt, like, my spiritual beliefs. So while we're walking in this path to get back to the parking lot, so I can get the fuck out and never see this dusty nigga again. While we're walking through, like, this nature path to get back to the cars, this nigga is like, oh, well, what you gonna do? Talk to the universe? You gonna talk to the universe? You wanna go hug that tree over there? You wanna go say thank you to your spirit guides? And you wanna go light your sage? And I'm like, you're immature. Like, you're just very immature. Like, I don't know if you thought I was supposed to be mad about that. But I'm not gonna be mad about you mocking my spiritual beliefs. Like, I'm not, babe. I'm not, babe. I'm not. Like, I'm not. And he was really being, like, that person. Like, you know, that person? Like, he was very much being, like, yeah. It was just, like, very, like, gross to even, like, experience. Like, I got secondhand embarrassment for him when he started to do that. Because it's like, what the fuck is wrong with you? And why hasn't your brain developed? Like, you very much act 14. You're almost 30. Oh. Okay, so he did that, and I'm just like, yeah, you're dumb. Like, I just ignored him, and I'm just like walking away from him, and I'm just like, I'm gonna get back to my car. So I walk right to my car. He walked right to him. We don't say nothing. I move forward with my motherfucking life, and I fucking skirt up out of that bitch, and I tried to swerve out real smooth, but babe, I never been there before, and the parking lot was small, so I had to end up doing like a K-turn and had to get it right before I got out of there. But like, I wanted to be smooth. It wasn't as smooth of an exit as I desired, but I still got the fuck out of there. I didn't like skirt off all dramatic, but I definitely like, bitch, I'm out. And you know what? As soon as I pulled out of there, I blocked him because I'm like, oh my gosh, I do not want this person to have access to me or contact me at all, ever. So I'm just going to block him right now. And I blocked him. But then my intuition told me, nah, unblock him. Unblock him. Because I just knew in my spirit he was going to try to text me and say something. Say something. I didn't think he was going to apologize. I didn't think he was going to, I don't know. But I just knew he was going to say something. Honestly, I had him blocked for probably like 2 minutes. I unblocked him. And then I unblocked him probably like a minute later. I got a text from him that said, oh, you should come over before you leave. So you thought, bitch, listen. You thought that you were going to disrespect me, act dusty as fuck, like, insult me, act weird around me like you don't know me, or like if I don't know, bitch. I can't tell you to this day why this nigga was acting like that. I don't even know. But you want to act like that and then think I'm supposed to come over to your mother's house and fuck you? By golly, I don't know. Listen. I had to clutch my invisible damn pearls for that one because, nigga, you tried it. As soon as I seen that, and I could have cut him off right there. Like, something in me wanted to be like, nigga, I would never let your dusty ass touch my body ever again. But then again, I'm like, I don't want to give this nigga no fucking response. I'm not giving you my energy. Like, I just don't have it to give. Like, you're just so fucking dusty. You're even more dustier that you even sent that text. The fact you act like that and the fact that you still tried to proceed to get pussy afterwards, you are so dusty. Like I can feel the dust on me just from being around you at that point. Like, it was gross, girls. It was very gross. It was very gross. Men, if you are watching, please do not be a dusty Dan. Please do not be a dusty Dan. Don't do it. Please don't do it. For your own better health, it's not a good choice. So that is the time that I fell for a dusty. Yeah. So hopefully from me sharing my very relatable story, because I know that there are a plethora of women who have been done for a dusty, pretty much. And I stuck around way longer than I should have. I gave this guy way more of my energy than I ever should have. I gave him so much access to me. He ain't shit. I let him into my body. Should have never. But it's okay. You live. You learn. I'm happy as fuck that I never got pregnant by this fool. I'm happy as fuck that I don't live in the same state as him and I don't have to see him every day. And I'm just so fucking happy. And relieved. Like, you don't know how relieved I felt pulling off from that parking lot. Because for years, I always felt like in the back of my mind, there could be a future with us. But I just never knew for sure. And to know for sure that, like, God has so much better for me. But I'm not gonna lie, it feels amazing. Like, I never felt this sort of relief. I just never felt, it really feels like a weight off of my shoulders. I'm not gonna lie, like, I never felt something like this. Like, like, I really don't, like, you know, well, yeah, I do, because I've had toxic people that I've been with and I broke up with, and it's like, oh, thank God I'm not with them anymore, but, like, not to this magnitude. Like, this is on another level, so I'm very, very happy. Very, 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 very happy. And I know that this person is not my soulmate, and that means there's somebody out there for me way fucking better. I don't know why I put this dusty ass nigga on a pedestal. I do know why, because, and honestly, what it is too, where I was when I met him my senior year of high school, where it was one of the worst years of my life. Flat out, just one of the worst years of my life. So I met him when I was in a vulnerable place, and like energy attracts like energy. So it makes sense if I was in a down place that I would meet a person who isn't a good person, because I was in a lower vibration. So obviously I'm going to meet and attract somebody who's also in a lower vibration. I know now if I meet somebody they're gonna be a much better person, most likely, because I'm in a higher vibration. You know what I'm saying? That doesn't mean Dusty still can't try to come your way, because they fucking will. You cannot control who tries to approach you, but you can control your energy, if that makes sense to any degree to you. So yes, I hope you like my story time, my first story time ever. Y'all don't even know. The other story times I have coming are going to be so much more crazier, so much juicier, so much more intense and detailed. And I really hope you enjoy what I have coming up. So before you leave, make sure you like, comment, share the video. Make sure you subscribe to my channel, and make sure you press the bell so you can be notified when I post my videos. I will be posting weekly, so I want to make sure that you can be notified so you're like in the know. So thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. And yeah. Ooh. Can we get into my look real quick before I leave? Can we just get into my look real quick? Really quick. Okay. Yeah, so thank you so much again for watching. LALA, level up.